Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Johns Hopkins School of Education, Doctor of Education virtual webinar. My name is Tanya McMillan, and I am an admissions coordinator here at the School of Education. Also joining me today, I have my colleague from the Office of Admissions, and she will introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sian John, Assistant Director of Admissions here at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Also presenting today, we have faculty lead of the Doctor of Education program, Dr. Carrie Bukowski, and an alumni of the EdD program, Dr. Brianne Ruse. Before we get started, I would like to cover a few housekeeping topics. First, today's webinar is being recorded. We'll be able to share a link via email with you after the event is complete. Also, please take a quick moment to see if your microphone is on mute right now. Also, please have your microphone muted and your video camera off at all times during today's presentation. There will also be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation today. We encourage you to type your questions in the chat box and we will read and answer your questions aloud. Next, I'd like to share an agenda for today's virtual webinar. We will begin the presentation sharing an overview of the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Then Dr. Bukowski will review the program details of the EdD program. We also have an alum of the EdD program, and she will share her experience and discuss her journey at SOE as well. Lastly, we'll wrap it up with admissions requirements and then leave the floor open for questions at the end. I will start with some quick facts about the Johns Hopkins School of Education. We are one of 9 schools at Johns Hopkins University. We began offering college courses for teachers in 1909 and then became our own school in 2007. We are proud to share that the Johns Hopkins School of Education is consistently ranked one of the top schools in education by the U.S. News and World Report. For school enrollment, we have approximately 2,437 students and offer more than 28 graduate programs. We have a strong network of over 22,000 SOE alums. Now to introduce our faculty, Dr. Carrie Bukowski is an associate professor and the faculty lead for the Doctor of Education program. Dr. Bukowski joined our faculty in 2016. She received her PhD at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and her EdD at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Dr. Bukowski's research focus is cultivating connection, community, and belonging in our learning spaces. Lastly, Dr. Bukowski received the JHU School of Education Teaching Award in 2019, the Bloomberg School of Public Health Excellence in Teaching Award in 2016, and the Faculty Award for Service Learning in 2015. At this time, I'm going to hand the floor over to Dr. Bukowski, and she will be presenting on the EdD program today. Welcome, Dr. Bukowski. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here, and I loved seeing in the chat where everybody is located. I want to go and visit everybody in the Bahamas, and it's great. So just to give you a little overview of our program, we share the vision and mission. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but to give you some highlights, you know, the vision really is to address complex educational problems across the globe. And we want to prepare folks like you to be scholar practitioners who integrate social justice into their work and look at systems theory to affect change in your educational context. The mission of the program is to prepare an exceptional core of scholar practitioners, again, really around the world, as a testament to the people here today. And you really are being prepared to examine and intervene in what we call problems of practice with reliance on your expertise as a practitioner and our expertise in different facets of the curriculum that include this idea of, you know, transdisciplinary perspectives, looking at the system and how your problem is situated within that system, taking a design thinking and improvement science lens approach to some of your work. Of course, we always employ rigorous methodology, which can take multiple shapes. And again, social justice is one of our lenses. In terms of who this degree is ideal for, experienced practitioners who really want to add to your body of knowledge and skills, for those who are interested in examining real world problems within their context. Brianne and I always joke with first year students that we ask questions like, what's really bugging you in your context? What are you seeing that could be that problem of practice? Of course, creating powerful interventions to intervene and potentially mitigate what you're seeing, and this opportunity to evaluate the change and to iterate and make additional changes in the future. So at a glance, I think the program is similar to other competitors out there. It's a minimum of 90 graduate credits beyond the bachelor's. And so this can include your master's degree that is required. So it's usually between 30 and 36 credits. Up to 36 credits from that master's degree will transfer automatically with a potential for 6 additional credits. And there's a process for that. And a minimum of 48 credits must be completed in our Hopkins program. In terms of specializations, we have what we call entrepreneurial leadership. We have something around mind, brain, and teaching, instructional design and online teaching, and urban leadership. And you'll see the note here that we do also offer a mind, brain teaching certificate. And for folks who are already doing that, because the courses are very similar, we ask that you select another specialization if you're considering the EdD. In terms of program features, I don't think it'll be any surprise, and this is, I think, partly why you're coming to us to consider a program. It is rigorous, it is relevant, and offers a powerful intervention. Typically, our students are completing within 3 or 4 years. It is primarily an online asynchronous instruction with synchronous support in multiple settings, whether it's within the course or within the cohort support that we provide or elsewhere. And some of the dissertation is taken up within the coursework. In terms of the general structure, you can see we have 4 areas of the program. The foundation of education and applied research and evaluation is really what we refer to as the core. Your specialization area is what I talked about in a previous slide, and this is typically 12 credits and some combination of additional electives. And then you have your dissertation work, which happens in what we call dissertation credit hours. In terms of the structure, so like any doctoral program, there are key milestones. And so what we've done is you'll see in each of these years, we've tried to develop milestones so that you can show and demonstrate competency and mastery in written and oral assessments. So for example, at the end of year 1, including the summer, you would submit a year 1 paper, which is essentially, demonstrating that you can articulate your problem and examine those factors. We also have both the dissertation proposal and the comprehensive exam, which is taken after you have finished your core courses. And then the dissertation, of course, is the sort of, piece de resistance, so to speak. It is defended orally at the end of the program. And the applied dissertation is one of the most significant requirements of the ed degree. It really is a culmination of, the independent work you've done, the collaborative work you've done with your advisor, and also is related to some of the work, the projects, the written assignments that you do within your courses. As I said, one of the reasons that you're able to move through this program quite rapidly, actually in 3 years, is because we try to put some of this work, or at least drafts of some of this work, into the courses that you will take. It is focused on this problem of practice, again, situated in your professional practice. And there is an opportunity to make some change, within your professional practice for the population of interest in your study. In terms of support structures, there is an online orientation. So that happens, after you are admitted and you accept, and we do some celebrating because we're all about small celebrations in our program. You will embark on the summer before you start in the fall an online orientation, which is a series of modules and activities that we ask you to complete that are both preparing you for the coursework, introducing you to the coursework, and also just acclimating you to being in our learning management system. There is also a face-to-face orientation, and fingers crossed, if we can get COVID under control, we would love to safely reconvene next summer so we can be together, which is, I would say, one of the most fun parts of our program. There are also faculty cohort leads, and I'm happy to talk more, and Brianne can talk about this as well. Clearly your advisor and also the instructors and all the faculty. You spend time with your advisor refining the dissertation. You can also find supports in our clinics, like the writing clinic. Our library, I was just talking to Sharon Morris this morning. Our library does a wonderful job of supporting our EdD students in all sorts of ways. And then, of course, there are lots and lots of online resources from the program site, the cohort site, and really at the school level as well. Now, this is what I was talking about with that online orientation prior to it starting in the fall. So there are 8 sort of modules that I was referring to, and some of them are, sort of for your information, the technology tools that you will use. And then there are others that will require more in-depth work. So like the library section, you can see has 9 assignments. The research methods modules can take quite a bit of time in the summer. And then you have other things that are really just becoming a doctoral student. You're going to be doing research. So the Collaborative Institutional Training Initiative, the CITI, that's a requirement. If you're going to do any, independent research, the Institutional Review Board, who monitors the ethics of human subject research, requires that we go through that certification. And then finally, there's just some modules that orient you to both the school as well as the program that you're entering. As I said, the residency is really one of the highlights of our program. It is a face-to-face orientation. So at the beginning of the summer, you could imagine in that first year, you're getting to know us and your peers through the online orientation. And then in July, late July, we come together in Baltimore, which is really great. You get to visit Baltimore and see the university. And we have lots of fun programming. We do a little bit of content, lots of community building, and lots of just, being together and getting to know each other. It is each year. These past 2 years, unfortunately, have been virtual, but I think they've been wonderful. We've sort of figured out how to do this online as well. And again, it really allows, each year, so year 1, 2, and 3, to focus on what's coming up in the fall. So in addition to building community and just, I think, having a lot of fun, it also offers some scaffolding for what's coming in that next year. Like the diversity of our students, in a multitude of demographic variables, our dissertation studies also reflect that diversity. We have everything from developing information search skills in the Arabian Gulf. We've had students work on HIV/AIDS, who aren't being adherent to their medication. We've had studies around education for diversity and working with culturally and linguistically diverse population, entrepreneurship, self-regulated learning, community college studies, and even business and education partnerships. So it really does run the gamut in terms of research work. And I think I'm gonna toss it over to Dr. Ruse.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming today. It's so nice to see you and to hear from Carrie about our awesome program. So I'm just here to kind of share my experience as an alum. I was in the program from 2017 until 2020, and I've been also working as a TA, and I'm still working in the program. That's a testament to how much I really enjoy the people and the work that we all do. So I, by training, I'm a speech language pathologist, so not somebody who I necessarily thought would land in this program, but as Carrie said, there's such a diversity of people geographically and in terms of professional background, which is one of the best parts, I think. You just get to know this totally diverse group, and you'd never necessarily have the opportunity to connect with those people, and they become really close friends and colleagues. My problem of practice was around stress in undergraduate students studying speech, language, hearing sciences. Carrie said we ask ourselves, what's bugging us in our context? And I was thinking of studying critical thinking or something like that. And then I just really wanted to lean into something that was bothering me every single day about our students. And that's really how application-based this can be and how tailored to your own context it is. And so that list of dissertations that Carrie just shared, that's really diverse. And I can't even imagine, like, if you saw the whole list of everything that we study. And that's one of the nice things about this program, is because you bring your context to the program, as opposed to you having to tailor your research to what the faculty are already doing. So that's definitely a benefit. Some of the reasons that I really chose and ended up enjoying Hopkins was this scholar practitioner focus. So you come in as, I don't really like to say the word expert, but I'll take it from the slides before, an experienced professional in your context. So you kind of know your stuff from wherever you're coming. And also you might not necessarily know how to write a doctoral dissertation. And so the faculty here really know how to balance those two things. There's a tremendous amount of respect for whatever you're bringing to the table professionally. And there's also a lot of support to help you get through the finish line for this, rigorous research process that you're about to embark on that you may not really have any prior experience with. So there's a really good balance of both of those things. The embedded dissertation is one of the things that I really liked upon choosing the program. That's one of the reasons that I applied to Hopkins. And that is that from the very start, you are crafting your dissertation, as opposed to programs where you take all of your courses and then you write. So you're writing all along the way. And if you follow the 3-year program, by the end of the summer of year 1, you potentially could have almost 2 chapters of your 5-chapter dissertation written. So it really is an embedded product, which is kind of neat. And the alignment across the courses to your research is strong, and they support one another. Carrie mentioned the support systems, and I think that's just a fantastic part of this program. And it's kind of remarkable because it is fully online, with the exception of the few days in July. Hopefully we'll get those back. But even with being fully online, you feel very connected. You feel connected to your peers and to the faculty and to the TAs and even to, the program assistants, and everybody is truly there and present for you to help you get through and to lean on, which is awesome, because this is a very rigorous undertaking that you're considering. And most people don't have people in their own homes or even in their workplaces who have walked this walk before. And so it's kind of hard to take that on by yourself. And it can be potentially sort of lonely. However, there's so much community support, and there's a lot of deliberate emphasis on that in this program. And I think that's definitely something that sets it apart. So I guess tips moving forward, I would say if this is something that you feel really interested in and kind of engaged by, trust the process, go ahead and apply. And when you get in, enjoy the challenge of it. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, but also the best thing that I've ever done. And the best advice, I think, is to connect with one another. So to connect with your faculty and with your colleagues, because these networks of people are really moving mountains in education all across the world, evidenced by the chat and where you are all right now. I mean, how else would you ever connect with such an international and experienced group? So I can't say enough about it, and I hope you'll consider applying.
Thank you, Dr. Roos, for joining us today. So now we're going to continue by going over the application requirements. First, applicants must submit a completed application, which can be found on our website. Please keep in mind there is an $80 application fee. Next, you will need an updated resume highlighting your educational and professional background. Your personal statement should not exceed more than 750 words describing a problem or practice relevant to your current context of professional practice. Be sure to align your problem or practice with one of the 4 specializations. Moving on, you should submit 3 letters of recommendation. These letters should include at least the following: a professor you've worked with in your master's program who could speak on your competency to conduct rigorous scholarly work, and a professional recommender who can attest to your qualifications to pursue a doctorate degree, and this recommender would support your problem of practice. Keep in mind, you are able to submit 3 professional references if you are not able to have an academic reference. And one final note is to make sure one of your professional recommenders is your executive sponsor. Your executive sponsor should be someone who will be an asset in helping you gain access to data and/or participants related to your problem or practice. If you're self-employed, your executive sponsor might be a person of authority with the agency you would like to work with to collect your related data to earning your doctoral degree. Applicants are required to identify and submit the name of an executive sponsor within the online application form. Next, the GRE is not a requirement for admissions consideration to the EdD program. It is optional for an applicant to submit a GRE test score as part of the application. However, submitting a GRE test score is an opportunity for you to present additional evidence of the quantitative and verbal skills required for the doctoral level study. Next, we need all official transcripts, including institutions you may have taken courses but did not receive a degree. Again, this is from all post-secondary institutions that you have attended. And lastly, all applicants will be asked to complete a virtual interview upon submitting their application. And Dr. Borkowski, we do receive a good amount of questions relating to the problem of practice and executive sponsor. In addition to what I just shared, please feel free to share any additional information that you have on the problem of practice and executive sponsor.
Yes, Sian, I'm happy to share. And in fact, this is so timely, Brianne, because we were just finishing up our first week of POP workshops with the entering cohort. So it's sort of fresh on my mind. So the first thing I'll say about the problem of practice when you write this statement is it's not going to be finished. It's not going to be polished, because if it were, you wouldn't need to come to our program. So let's just put that out there, right? This is what you know and what you think about that POP at the time of the application. The other thing I would say is, in terms of maybe a tip and some suggestions, is when you think about the problem of practice, what you want to imagine is pretend that Brianne or myself or Sian are walking into your professional context. We don't know your professional context, and you're giving us a tour of this problem of practice. What you want to include in your personal statement is, what do you see that you believe is the problem? What does it look like, feel like? What are faculty doing? What are teachers doing? How are students responding? What we want to avoid is a problem of practice is not defined as the absence of something, if that makes sense. The other thing I will say is that the executive sponsor is someone that really becomes your cheerleader. This is someone who knows the organization, has enough authority and understanding of how the organization works, that they can help to champion what you're going to need to be successful. So for example, when our students have to do their data collection, their empirical study, they need to collect data, or they need access to data. Can this executive sponsor, or is this executive sponsor positioned in a way that they can help to facilitate that process? Does the executive sponsor know who to contact if you want to use secondary data, and can they help you with that process? The executive sponsor does not sit on your dissertation committee. They do not review your dissertation chapters, and they do not evaluate you on your comprehensive exam. In fact, we've learned over the years that it's better not to have this person participate in that way. They might be an informal mentor, but they don't take a formal sort of role in that committee work around your dissertation. So I hope that helps, Sian.
Yes, that was really helpful. Thank you so much. So moving on to admissions timeline. So the EdD application is open for fall 2021 admission. You will be able to find the application on the school's website. The application deadline is January 14, 2022. Any supporting materials, for example, like your official transcripts, letters of recommendation, virtual interview, must be in by January 14. Applications will be reviewed from February to mid-March, and finally, admissions decisions will be released mid-March. And there are a few additional steps you need to take in order to complete the application if you are an international student. Non-US citizens from countries where English is not the official language are required to submit one of the following standardized tests as part of the admissions application process. A waiver for the English language proficiency requirement may be granted for some applicants who meet specific criteria. Information on the English language testing waiver can be found on the school's website under the International Student page. And please note, if you hold qualifying degrees or have earned credits from institutions outside of the US, you must have your academic records evaluated by an accredited independent credential evaluation agency before you can be considered for admission to the EdD program. Again, information on the course-by-course evaluation can be found on the school's website. Here on this slide is a breakdown of the tuition and fees for the next 3 years. We will be sending this chart in the thank you email with the recorded video within 1 week after the event is complete. So the tuition for the upcoming academic school year will be $1,638 per credit, and the estimated program cost is approximately $92,515. We encourage you to view our tuition and fees page on our website for the most up-to-date information about tuition and fees so that you can understand the complete picture of the costs associated with becoming a student here at JHU School of Education. And if you're interested in applying for financial aid, we strongly encourage you to apply for financial aid when you start your application. The EdD program offers scholarships that range from $500 to $2,000 per semester. Students do not need to apply for these scholarships. These EdD partial scholarships are merit-based and are awarded to select students by the EdD admissions committee. And lastly, in addition to the merit-based scholarships, the School of Education offers a limited number of partial need-based institutional scholarships each year. SOE's endowed scholarship awards range on average from $500 to $1,500 per semester and are applied to tuition expenses beginning in the fall semester. To see if you qualify to apply for the endowed scholarship, please visit the grants and scholarship page on the school's website. Also, please visit our website with any questions relating to financial aid. You'll find contact information for the Office of Financial Aid. Thank you for attending the Doctor of Education program presentation. At this time, we would like to open up the floor for questions. So keep in mind, we will be answering general program and admissions related questions today. And if you have a question that requires a one-on-one conversation, please reach out to the Office of Admissions or the EdD department, and contact information will be shared in the last slide at the end of the presentation. And one more thing, we will be stopping at 4 p.m. So again, if there are questions that are not answered, again, please reach out to admissions or the EdD department.
Sian, do you want us to just answer the questions verbally as they come up? How do you want to handle it?
Yes, that is fine. I'm trying to scroll up to see which one's the first question, but if Dr. Burkowski, if you see a question, feel free to jump in.
Great. So, so Joseph was asking about the executive sponsor. I just want to clarify. It's an executive sponsor who comes from your professional context to support you in the work and to help you navigate some of those potential barriers. Chad, you were asked, yeah, no worries. Chad, you were asking about the problem of practice and this idea that it's dynamic. That's such a good noticing by our alums, and I'm so glad they said it to you that way. You know, it doesn't, it just scrolled up, sorry. It doesn't have to be refined when you come in, you know, with your statement. It is going to evolve and change a bit as you move through the program, as you take courses. I can give an example. One of the courses you'll take is Disciplinary Approaches to Education, where you're looking at your POP through different lenses. And so you can imagine as you use a different lens, you're going to see something new. And that might help you to tweak that POP. So definitely it might evolve. The second question there Chad has is, does the problem of practice play a particularly significant role in determining our suitability to be admitted? I mean, I think it's definitely a consideration, Chad. I mean, we want to make sure that you have something that is researchable, that is connected to your professional context, that this is something you could carry out reasonably in your context. And we also, as I believe, I think it was, I can't remember, I apologize, Tanya and Sian said that there should be some connection to your specialization interest, that there's a thread there. Let's see. So the question is, does the executive sponsor need to have an advanced degree? This person does not, because as I said, they do not sit on the dissertation committee. So if it's a dissertation committee member, they would have to have that terminal degree. But really, the executive sponsor is the person who might have a bunch of institutional knowledge, right? Who has been there, who knows the players, who knows the stakeholders. So it's not necessarily tied to degree. Let's see.
Thank you, Dr. Burkowski. There's one saying, I am from Singapore at a different time zone. Any problem with residency provided COVID prevails and travel is restricted?
Yeah, that's, I mean, as you might imagine, just from the folks who are present on this webinar, Sian and others, time zones are always a challenge, even within the US, right? Because we have West Coast, East Coast. And so we try a couple of things. We try to pick a time that hits as many time zones reasonably well as we can. The other thing we do is we record all of the sort of content heavy sessions, and students are able to access those right after residency and actually even beyond. So we're very sensitive to these time zone issues. And I think you'll see that's also true when students start taking courses. We offer multiple times for sync sessions and things of that nature. Sian, it looks like someone's asking several questions around admission. So I don't know if that's something you want to handle.
Yes, definitely. We are seeing a question about whether or not this presentation will be shared after the event. Yes, definitely. The recorded video will be shared to everyone within 1 week after the event is complete.
Great, thanks. There were a couple of other questions. So someone was asking, what's the course of action if we cannot obtain a letter of recommendation from a previous professor? I think I would do the best you can to find someone who could maybe speak to some of the skills and knowledge, that you might require to do this work, or could speak to your aptitude and abilities around doctoral work. You may also want to, I sit on the admissions committee, so you may also want to put an explicit note in your application that said it wasn't possible, so that we know that you saw the requirement and just couldn't meet it for various reasons. Logan is also asking about a pathway to superintendent licensure. That's not embedded in our program and wouldn't be an option. Brianne, I'm wondering if you would take this one. Mark is asking, what's the average time commitment each week for the average student? I know, I'll toss it to you.
Well, I guess I would say it varies. People attack the program in different ways. So I found, I can be candid with you. For me, it was like 2 hours a day and about 8 hours on the weekend for the 3 years. That was what I got up really early in the morning and tried to pound out some work before I went to teach myself and got my kids to school. Somebody else had asked, is this program suitable to people who work full time? Yes. Most people in the program do work full time. It's a grind, to be honest with you. I think any doctoral program is going to be a grind. So if you're even considering this, that it's going to be a heavy lift, but you kind of find a way to make it work. So whether you're an early morning person, a night person, we have some people we call weekend warriors, where they just were too slammed with a long commute and that sort of thing during the week, and they just pounded out a ton over the weekends. So one of our friends and colleagues says that one of the skills that you develop in this program is inventing time. And I would say that that is true. You find a way to get those hours in.
Thank you, Brianne. This is Tanya. I'll just jump in and answer some of the admissions related questions I see popping up. We have quite a few from Justina. The first one is how to submit my recommendation letters. So when you start your application form online, you will see, once you select your program and cohort start date, all of the other requirements will populate within the online application. That is where you will list the 3 names of your recommenders, including one of those should be your executive sponsor. So we encourage you to do that as soon as you've spoken with those parties, because pretty quickly, once you submit their contact information, our system will automatically send them a link with a form to submit a recommendation letter on your behalf. And that will be linked directly back to your application. The acceptance rate for the program, normally we do have an average 60 to 70 students per cohort year, and that acceptance rate is about 35%. The next one that we have from you, Stina, is can I change my EdD specialization after I get admitted to the program? Generally, we here at admissions advise no to that. You may want to speak to that, Dr. Bukowski, but usually we advise no, since your common practice does closely relate to your specialization.
Yeah, Tanya, thank you. I think, on average, you're correct that that's the best approach, is to sort of really give it some thought and think about what the thread is between your POP and your specialization. At the same time, I would be remiss if I didn't admit that when you enter the program in that summer online orientation, you really start to explore that POP deeply, and with some of the resources in the program, it sometimes surfaces that maybe this isn't what I thought it was. And we do have some exceptions to that rule. You have to talk to the specialization lead and all that sort of thing, but we have made exception, but it really is a case by case. And I would agree with Tanya that, I wouldn't be thinking, what's the contingency plan? I would be going full in on, I think this is the right choice. So if that makes sense.
Okay, great. Thank you for adding some insight there. The next question from Justina was, when do you know if you qualify for the merit scholarships? So typically for the last cohort, we did notify, I believe it was possibly in June, we sent out notifications to admitted students that qualified. So we encourage you, when the application opens, to submit your application for financial aid if you're eligible for federal financial aid and things of that nature, as Sian mentioned previously. But you will receive updates when scholarships are, the EdD scholarship does open. You'll see that information updated on our grants and scholarship page.
Tanya,
Oh,
folks,
one more part. I'm sorry, there's one more part to that. I scrolled down a little bit. I apologize. The other question, there was a lot from this one person. Do you get an advisor from the program besides your executive sponsor that we pick? Yes, you do get an EdD faculty advisor as well. And then there was one other question about how to send official transcripts. Those can be either sent by mail, and you'll see that information on our website to our School of Education building in Baltimore. But of course, we encourage electronic transcripts, whether they be credential evaluations if you're an international student, or official transcripts for US schools, to be sent electronically. And you'll see that information for our main admissions email address as well.
So folks are asking, or one individual asked about examples of problems of practice in the ELE specialization. They really do run, just like the ones we shared with you. They're sort of all over the place. We've had individuals who were leaders in organizations, and this person actually became the president of a university who did his dissertation on the student evaluation system for faculty, like evaluation systems for faculty. We had another gentleman who was an international student who developed an education app for students. We had another woman who was an instructional designer in the tech area, but was ELE, who also developed an app, and we're actually testing it out in some of our classes in the EdD, which is really cool. We've had several ELE students who are also, whether their role is actually leader or they just hold a leadership presence among their colleagues. They have done larger scale professional learning, rolling out programs. So they really do take all shapes and sizes.
Thank you, Dr. Prokofsky. Looks like I'm just trying to scroll. There's so many questions. Do you have an established partnerships with nearby institution, for example, NIH?
Yeah, I tried to address that in the chat. So obviously faculty at Hopkins all across the university have established relationships with a multitude of organizations, big and small. Within the EdD program, we don't have any sort of formal setup, with the NIH. So no. Sian, a couple of people were also asking about the range of GRE, and then also someone was asking for the tuition rate.
I can take that. This is
Yes.
Tanya. As far as the GRE is not required, so it is optional for candidates to submit a GRE score. It's not held against you if you opt not to. However, if you have favorable scores that you wanted to share, we certainly welcome that as well. So that's optional. I'm not sure what the other question was that Carrie identified, but I do see one asking about, this is admissions related, about how do we handle doctoral transfer scholars. So if you, just to touch on the transfer credit and how that works for the program. So overall, the EdD program is 90 credits. You do come in with 36 credits from your master's automatically. So that would leave 54 credits at the doctorate level to complete. If by chance you do have doctoral credits that you'd like to be considered, that would be upon review of the course official transcripts, and then the EdD faculty review committee would let us know if any of those would potentially be accepted. However, the maximum that would be accepted of doctoral credits would be just 6 credits. So that's how the transfer credit works for this particular program.
Tanya, many students are asking also about the virtual interview, and I didn't know what kind of details you wanted to share about what they can expect in that process.
Oh, sure, I can definitely touch on that. So you'll get, once you submit your application and application fee, you'll get a link to the Kira video interview, and that's the platform that the interview is supported by. And it will give you instructions. It is an oral and written interview. There will be, usually it's about 2 or 3 written prompts that you're given. You do have, I believe it's 20 minutes each to respond to the written prompts, and then the oral prompts the same. And I believe it's about 2 or 3 oral prompts as well. You're given just 2 minutes to respond to the oral prompts. I would definitely treat it as you would a professional interview with regard to demeanor and dress code. Also, there are some practice questions that you're given prior to actually doing the final interview. So you can definitely do the practice questions well before to prepare for that interview, and you'll see the practice questions in there as well. So that will sort of give you a feel for what to expect.
Thanks, Tanya. Maria was asking about the professional context of ELE students, and I was just saying that they don't always come from educational settings. In fact, one of our good friends who also coined the invent time was not in an educational setting. She does work with schools, but she herself does not work in an education setting. And we have the gentleman I spoke of who did the faculty evaluation. He was at IBM doing some work when he came to us and did the ELE. So you can come from different sectors for sure.
There was also a question, Dr. Bukowski, from, I believe it's Tabitha, asking if she's able to defer until the next year, if I'm able to afford tuition. The program does not offer deferrals of admission. If you decide to decline your offer of admission, that's certainly at your discretion, but you would have to reapply to a future cohort year if you opt to not accept the offer of admission.
And going back to the tuition question, Carrie, that you asked, the tuition for the upcoming academic school year is $1,638 per credit, and the estimated program cost is approximately $92,515. So again, like I mentioned in the thank you email, we'll have the cost breakdown that will be shared in the email with the recorded video.
We did have a question about the virtual interview. On the virtual interview, are you encouraged to discuss your problem of practice as a part of the admissions process? I will share that we're not able to disclose the questions that will be asked. So that's something that I don't have information on. And if we did have that, unfortunately, we would not be able to disclose. So it's really an interview where you do have to, of course, think on your feet. And you'll be given those questions, again, practice questions to prepare, but the practice question will be different from the actual questions that will be recorded for the Kira video interview.
Thanks, Tanya. There are a few other questions that are coming up asking about certification options. And unfortunately, our program just isn't set up to offer any sorts of certifications. Additionally, folks are tossing out sort of their different degrees and what that means for transfer, and the rules or sort of requirements that both Tanya and Sian shared earlier hold for everybody regardless of degree. So I think that I'm trying to streamline some of the answers to make it clear for everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Bukowski. One thing I wanted to clarify too, for the EdD program scholarship for new admitted students, those are released by April 15th each year.
And I do see a question in regards to where to locate the TOEFL waiver form. So if you qualify for a waiver, you can locate the waiver form in the online application. So you'll be required to upload both a short paragraph just explaining how you meet the criteria. In addition, you would have to also submit like a transcript that shows that you attended college in one of the approved locations, and that your academic program was at least 2 years in length. And all this information is found on the school's website on the International Students page.
Yeah, and Chad, thank you for your question. Chad's asking about the application and is there an advantage to submitting early? We don't have a rolling admissions process, and you're right in thinking we do look at them before January, but we're not looking at them as they come in. So there really isn't an advantage, to submitting it super early. So I would say take the time that you need, to think through and articulate your POP and then submit. Gabriella is asking about what relationship did Hopkins play after the completion of the dissertation? Support is given to the problem solving, the problem we write about for the dissertation. Gabriella, that's a great question. And I think this really is a case by case with respect to your advisor and the relationship or relationships you've built with other faculty. And what I mean by that is the program doesn't have anything formally set up to do sort of like postdoc or follow on. But I will say, and I hope Brianne would attest to this. If you cultivate really strong relationships with faculty while you're here, and Brianne and I actually have a really strong relationship, both friendship and research wise, we have done a lot of work after she graduated. And so, that can definitely happen. And I know other stories of other faculty who have done that with lots of students. So I definitely think it's possible.
There's a question we have related to specialization. Is there a particular specialization that fits more with someone who works in the corporate learning and developmental space and cutting off a little bit and wants to grow in leadership in that area?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I would be happy, I think it's Anne Louise, to have an offline conversation, because as you've articulated the question, it's hard for me to say because it might be that, for example, learning more about mind brain or learning more about instructional design is what puts you ahead and gets you into that leadership. It's not just the, ELE specialization itself. So it might be worth a short, post seminar conversation if that's something you want to chat about.
Thank you.
Jamie's asking, what do you celebrate or admire most about the JHU program? What's your goal or objective that you feel contributes to its uniqueness? Well, I have to say first, Jamie, I just love your question. Because so Brianne and I work together. We're the first year cohort leads. So we have the privilege of working with the first year students as they come into the program and stay with them. And one thing that's really our mantra is we celebrate all the small victories. And so I think what I really love about the Hopkins program, and Brianne, I'd love to hear your take, is I love a good paradox. And for me, what I love about Hopkins is that there's kindness and there's rigor. We don't have to be mean and deflate you and break you down and build you back up. We really celebrate, and I'm getting chills because I really feel this. We really celebrate and believe that everybody we admit to the program has talent and has expertise. And we are here to work with you, maybe in a different way, to create something new. But you are a collaborator, constructor, contributor, and all of that. And the way we go about that is through kindness and compassion and rigorous and excellence. And I just think that's our sweet spot, in my opinion.
I totally agree. I was going to use the same paradox, but I'll just go with community. I think that you're thinking about a doctorate from Hopkins, so obviously this is going to be hard, right? Like that's a given. And also, it doesn't have to be like a solitary, really intense kind of thing where you feel just beaten down all the time. There's enough work where you're going to feel like there's a lot happening. But the community of this program is fantastic, and it's so supported, and you really truly emerge as both a better scholar and a better practitioner, I think.
Thank you. There was a question that we missed in the beginning. Is mind brain teaching a selection, a specialization? I thought I saw you say you must select another specialization. Please clarify.
Yeah, so thank you for that clarifying question. So mind, brain, and teaching is one of the specializations. That's the first thing. The second point or reminder we were trying to make is that at Hopkins, there is also a graduate certificate in mind, brain, and teaching. And some of our students from that certificate like to come into the EdD. And the only note there is that because the courses are so similar, you're not able to be a mind, brain, teaching specialization if you've been through the graduate certificate. That's all. So I hope that clarifies. Another person, Denise, was asking about time limit, and it's 7 years, and I believe that's school policy. Elise is asking, outside of loans and grants and scholarships, are there some ways that doctoral students have funded their tuition? Yeah, Elise, I mean, this is always, let's be honest, doctoral studies is expensive, and it's tricky when it's a practitioner degree and you're going part-time. Some of our students have been able to fund it through their employer. Some of our students have found, we've had a few Gates scholars. Other students have found other scholarship opportunities, within their sort of professional network. So it is possible. So those are some of the examples.
I think that's all the questions we have for today. I don't see any more questions unless Sian, do you see any questions on your end privately? Oh, can't hear you, Sian. Are you there?
Anything? Yeah, I don't see anything. So it looks like, actually, hold on real quick. All right, there is a, hold on, yes, there is a question that just came in. Again, my chat scroll is not. From Gabriella, if someone published a similar dissertation relating to a problem you are passionate about, should you not use that problem?
So I will say, no, of course you should pursue it. I mean, even though it might be the same problem of practice, and Brianne can attest to this, we have lots of students that are working in sort of the same orbit, if you will, of a research area. But your take on it, your spin on it, your contribution to this body of literature might be different, right? And that's part of the exploration in the fall, is to better understand what the literature already says and knows about your problem. And then there's always a gap. No, we don't have full knowledge of any research topic as much as they've been researched. So I would not give up on your problem of practice because someone has already looked into that problem. Because remember, one of the unique things about the EdD is this is contextualized research. So even if there's been a lot written on that problem, it may look and feel different in your own professional context. So. Sian and Tanya, I saw this question come up a couple of times. A few folks are asking if they've earned a master's degree from Hopkins, do they still need to submit those transcripts for the EdD?
Okay, thank you. That is a good question. So there are 9 schools at Hopkins. You should request your transcripts. If you have been a School of Education student, we may have those transcripts depending on how long it has been, but I would definitely encourage you to request all transcripts. If you do have a question, if it is a School of Education transcript, you can certainly email our admissions email address, and we will clarify if we are able to get access to that transcript, depending upon how long ago it was. So, but for the other schools outside the School of Education, you will definitely have to request those transcripts. And I see, Carrie, that you've answered Herman's question, so I appreciate that as well.
Yeah, no worry. It looks like I might have missed one. Jonathan was asking, thinking of programming, is it possible to get a course listing for each of the doc programs? Correct me if I'm wrong, Tanya, but I thought our course listings, both for the PhD and EdD, are they on the website? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so for the EdD specifically, you do have to go on our EdD program page and scroll to the bottom where it says program plan. You'll see the specializations, also descriptions, as well as the specific courses for each specialization. And then under that, you'll see a sample of the 3-year plan. If you are planning to or anticipating completing in 3 years, it shows sort of a sample schedule, so to speak, there. So all that information is on our EdD webpage, as Dr. Bukowski mentioned. You just have to scroll down to sort of see all the content there.
Yeah, and Tanya, Monica asked a good question, and I shouldn't assume this because there's so many different models. We are on a semester schedule. We don't do quarters or trimesters. So thanks for that reminder.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, it looks like Dr. Burkowski, you answered Sarah's question. I'm just trying to go make sure that we answered every single question. It looks like we did, and looks like, oh, we got one more question. I'd be working in the program from China. Oh, okay, I missed it again. Is this realistic?
So Chad, thanks for your question. And so is it really realistic? That would be something you have to ask yourself. What I can tell you is that we have many students in Asia. We have students in Hawaii, in Alaska, in places where the times are in the Middle East. And I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes it's tricky setting up, one-on-one. So I know with my students in Asia, I'm either talking to them at 8 in the morning or 8 p.m., right? Because it's the 12-hour difference. But the due dates for assignments and everything are sensitive to those things. And I do think it's possible. And again, most faculty have multiple sync sessions to accommodate different time zones. And we often try to find out quickly where our students are when we have them in class. And if you feel like your instructor doesn't realize that, it's also important that you reach out to them to let them know.
All right, it is 4 o'clock now. Looks like there are no more questions. So thank you again for your interest in the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Thank you, Dr. Prokosky, Dr. Roos, for being here and for the wonderful presentation. We look forward to hearing from you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, everybody.